One Piece chapter 1057 has Oda just pull a complete swerve on us, because I thought like, yo, it'd be cool if Yamato joined the Straw Hats, but I'm kind of like, man, I'm still salty. Vivi didn't officially get on the ship and travel with them, so I don't really want a situation where Yamato goes with them. Well, what we end up seeing is that Yamato actually ends up staying behind in Wano, and like in hindsight, it kind of makes sense, because when you had that battle that took place with Yamato watching as Momo and the others are trying to defend Wano against that admiral, and Yamato was getting ready to step in, it became clear kind of right then and there that she was at least thinking about it, and so her reasoning makes a lot of sense. So she wants to be like Odin, and Odin technically did get on the ship and travel abroad. However, before that, Odin actually walked the streets of Wano, and she says that there's a lot that she doesn't actually know about Wano, and like that kind of makes sense because again, she was Kaido's kid, so she didn't necessarily go out there and mingle with the common folk like that. So you can kind of understand how she came to her reasoning. That actually makes a ton of sense right there. I'm a little saddened by the fact that she doesn't actually end up joining the Straw Hat crew in the sense of actually traveling with them, but Luffy just pulls a boss move that I really think is probably going to trigger the people at the world government when they realize that the Straw Hat banner is actually flying over Wano, and it's going to be one of those things where you know that the emperors are taking out territory and everything. It becomes one of those things where having Luffy claim Wano might end up being a huge red flag for the world government, because he's already got the gum fruit, and we know that they wanted that fruit because of what it actually entails with the power of Gear 5. However, the other thing too is the fact that we know that Wano has the Pluton, and so Luffy has claimed territory over it. So that's interesting. Luffy, in a very indirect way, even though he said he doesn't want the Pluton, he's basically signaled to the world government, you can kiss my ass. So that's gonna be interesting to see if there's any blowback from this. Now, Oda also chooses to have what looks like it's a kabuki play, where you see the people of Wano being told the events of what happened with Momo and etc. And they're using that as a backdrop to kind of recap a little bit while also setting the stage for closing the book on Wano. And I thought that that was a smart decision. Now, the other thing we see here is that Yamato is riding along with Momo and with Kin'emon, and Kin'emon and Momo are both in their feelings over the fact that Luffy didn't say goodbye to them, and we find out after a series of flashbacks why this is actually the case. So with the flashbacks, you just see more of the Luffy and Momo thing. And I like how what Oda does here is Oda basically is in a situation where he's showing you just how much Luffy has actually changed Momo. And I thought that that was a nice touch by Oda just to have that on there and to kind of show the bond. And you really see a moment how Momo's like, you know, we weren't best friends. However, after that long journey, you know, I would think I would mean something to you. And I like how that's kind of teeing us up for the whole situation where Luffy says you're like a little brother to me. So I do like seeing that right there, where Momo was in his feelings and he felt like he was being betrayed by Luffy, but Luffy actually never forgot about him. So I thought that that was cool to see that. And I like how you have Luffy and Law and Kid, they're getting ready to set sail. And you see the Straw Hats gathered, and you see Momo, and he's completely just ripping into Luffy, saying, how dare you leave? How could you not leave without saying goodbye to me? And then he just breaks down into tears, and he's like, just stare at me forever. I don't want you to go under any circumstances. I was only able to survive because of you. And it becomes a situation where Luffy's like, yeah, you know, you're like super weak, dude. You're super weak and you're a coward, but you're like my little brother. That's why I'm giving you this flag. Fly this. That way, anyone who shows up trying to cause trouble at Wano, they know that messing with you is messing with my crew as well. And indirectly, again, that's Luffy basically letting it be known that this is part of his territory. And I like that you see this because it sets the stage for Luffy to say, you know, watch out for him, Yamato. If you guys ever want to be pirates, you just let me know. You guys can join, but I'm not taking any weaklings on my ship. So that was like a little bit of a nod to Momo, basically saying, dude, you're the one calling the shots right now. You're not a little kid anymore. You got to grow up. Your balls have dropped. Now you got to man up and steer this stuff in the right direction. So I like that Luffy's giving that last bit of a push. I like that Luffy's giving the last bit of a push to Momo right there. I thought that that was cool. And we end up seeing how Nami begins to start giving the directions, and we see how kids like, yeah, you guys take the safe route, the secure route. I'll take the more dangerous route. And Luffy's like, Jinbei, he got on my nerves. Give me that ship steering wheel. I'm going to go ahead and go the dangerous route. And, you know, you got Nami and them basically saying like, dude, hold on a second. Safe is completely fine. Don't listen to him. And Luffy ain't hearing none of that. And I like how essentially the three of them end up going on their own ways. And we get the wrap up of the play that is going on, and you see how Komurasaki / Hiyori is out there performing for everyone. And the chapter ends off where you see Momo and he's sitting in the crowd with everybody watching the play take place, and you have Momo looking over at Wano in one of the last panels, and he's saying that they need to go ahead and fly the flag, and it says the end after this. So essentially we close the door on Wano, and he says, may our paths meet again someday somewhere. And I do think because of this decision that Luffy's made, we are going to be in a situation where their paths, they do cross again, because this is a huge middle finger to the world government. And that also in a way kind of sets the stage for a Luffy versus Kaido rematch, in my opinion. And I think what's going to end up happening, and I could be wrong here, but what I think could end up happening is when Kaido inevitably does come back, because I don't think Kaido's dead. When Kaido does inevitably come back, we're going to be in a situation where, because we've seen how strong Kaido is, that's going to be a good gauge to see how much stronger Luffy's gotten, because you need a good measuring stick. I hate to say this because I really enjoy Kaido's character, but I do think either Kaido or Big Mom, one of the two of them are actually going to be used as fodder for Luffy or any of the other people that actually fought against them, because right now the stakes are an all-time high. Because in the last chapter, we see how Law was giving out the information that was on the poneglyph, basically saying like, hey, like only a coward would essentially keep this information from themselves, and only a coward keep this information away from their enemies to get a head start. You know, that showed a lot of Law's self-confidence. And in this chapter, you know, they talk about the fact that when they meet out there on the seas again, they're officially enemies. So it's one of those things where somebody in those three are going to end up fighting one of those emperors, whether it be Kaido or Big Mom. One of those three is going to be targeted. And again, I think it's needed in order to show progression. Oda could always swerve us, but I feel kind of confident saying I think that's the direction he's going. Overall for Wano, this was a long build. This is a long build up. I remember back when I was doing Kryptonian Saiyan and like the first channel, and like I got to Fishman Island, and you guys would tell me back then like, hey, like you're going to get caught up around the time that Wano starts taking place, and Wano's going to be this huge thing. And I remember thinking like, how could you guys even know this? However, the closer I got to Wano, the more I realized like, oh, okay, so this is what they mean. I can see how the pieces are coming together. This is going to be a huge arc. And I personally like the ending of this arc right here. I loved all the Japanese themes that Oda put into this arc. And I like the idea of like the arc being kind of set up where it's kind of like the acts of a kabuki stage play. So I thought it was cool to see that, and to see how like the final chapter is also showing some of that Japanese theater. That's very interesting that Oda decided to kind of stage this chapter and stage the whole arc in this way. So my chapter question to you guys is going to be, now that Wano is officially over, what was your favorite moment from Wano, and what was your least favorite moment?